All the local authorities, we realized that there was something that was missing, particularly on the part of the local authorities, and that was the understanding of their functions, the understanding why they were voted into office as councillors and why they are there as senior officers or as officers in the local authorities. So we had discussions with the Jitepo School of Ideology, and we requested them to train all our local authorities, 92 of them, including the road councils, the mayors, town clerks, chairpersons, CEOs, councillors. All of them went through training. I should say 96 or 97% of councillors were trained. A few from the opposition did not attend, but we still want them to come for the training. That training helped a lot because they started now understanding what they were supposed to be, who they were, and the ideology of the country. What is Zimbabwe, and what is it that we're employed to do? It's service delivery, nothing else. Not to be in the office and start politicking. So that gap has been closed. But be that as it may, there were other characteristics that were developed in the local authorities. Every local authority, characteristics that were very difficult to shed off: the poor service delivery, the issues of land problems, which you are reading in papers now, which are misinforming the public, which we'll correct in this discussion. We then said we want to go now on specific areas and see how best we can deal with the problems, solve the problems, help the local authorities. And this is what we are doing now. The local authorities are now aligned. You are aware that last year in June, the president launched 2 critical policies in the local authority space: the urban state land management policy and the minimum standard service delivery policy, which all the local authorities now are complying with. We still have challenges in the major 2 cities, Harare and Bulawayo, in terms of compliance. But on the majority of cases, all the other local authorities are on board. We are aware that the local authorities rely predominantly on devolution funds for funding service delivery. And devolution funds may not be enough or are not enough to pay for all the services, from water, sewer management, waste collection, road rehabilitation, street lighting, and the general social amenities of the city. So we then went and sought guidance from His Excellency, and we were allowed to invite the private sector to come and provide services on a PPP basis, private-public partnerships. We started with the city of Harare. You are aware that we have got Geopomona on waste management and waste collection. And all of us will bear testimony to the fact that majority of our suburbs, both in the low density and high density, we've got trucks collecting on a regular basis, collecting refuse. We still have challenges with road rehabilitation, drainage, and sewer management. These are things that are now on our dashboard for 2026 going forward. And we are now aligning all the services, service delivery mechanisms to the National Development Strategy 2. To what is it that we need to achieve as local authorities? We are now aligned to that. We are having meetings. Tomorrow we have meetings with all the mayors and all the local authorities in Bulawayo to discuss these issues. But however, coming back to Harare, I know you are very much interested in understanding what is happening. You are very much excited, some of you, on reporting on falsehoods, reporting on hot air, the issue of the land in Newlands, at the roundabout, at the Newlands bypass roundabout. The land on the right, on the left side, as we go towards Glenara, before we go to Forestry Commission, the open space that is there, it's about 16 to 17 hectares. 20 hectares, sorry. The 17 hectares are owned by a company called Logara. So it's a private company. They own that company, that piece of land. They then approached the city of Harare in far back in 2019 and said, we want to do a development of townhouses overlooking the small stream that is there between Forestry Commission and that piece of land. But there is 2 acres, 2.5 hectares before that. As you get out of the Dimlangagwa Road, the first land that you see on the left, 2.5 hectares, it's owned by the city of Harare. So the company made a proposal to the city of Harare then that we will construct a road from the roundabout all the way to Borodale Road, which will assist in easing off pressure from Churchill Road. It becomes an alternative route if you want to travel, either from Borodale Road and from the bypass. Council in principle agreed, but they developed individuals in councils, because the matters are now going to be before the courts, or they're now sensitive. I will not mention their names. Individuals in council saw that as an opportunity to acquire the piece of land for themselves. 4 companies were created. One is owned by one person. I can share the names bilaterally, or I do not share them now here. The 4th, they then even invited a friend and say, you can have the other stand. So there were 4 stands. They created some leases. But as you are aware, in terms of the Urban Councils Act, you don't just acquire council land without seeking audience with the neighborhood. The neighborhood resisted that. And we are told, we don't have facts now, we are told that negotiations were done between one of the neighbors who was very vocal, the neighborhood, and then the council then was allowed to do the development. That was well and good. What these officials wanted to do, they wanted to develop some car sales on that piece of land near the roundabout, which is not ideal for that area. We were then approached by the investor, Logara, as Minister of Local Government and Public Works, and said, we have been engaging the local authority on the development on this piece of land. We own 17 hectares ourselves, but we want the 2.5 hectares so that we've got a uniform development. We are going to construct another highway which links Dimlangagwa Road to Borodale Road. So we will not ask for payment from City of Harare. It will be compensation for the 2.5 hectares that we want them to surrender to us so that we have a uniform development, which I think, and I still think it's a very welcome development. This is the trajectory that the country is going. Let's have the modern infrastructure. And this is also in line with the development order. It took them a couple of years until last year in June. They requested to a meeting with us. We met with them together with the city of Harare. We agreed, the mayor and his team were here. We agreed that that can be done. That was in June. Then in sometime October, they then came back and said there was nothing that seemed to be working. What do? We called City of Harare and said, City of Harare, we want development. Who owns this piece of land so that we can negotiate with that person? isn't it owned by City of Harare? They said, yes, it's owned by City of Harare. I said, then the mayor and your team, let's sit down and negotiate and have a swap arrangement. You are not handing over this land to Logara for free, no. They will give you an equivalent piece of land on the Borodeo road side. And that is also very ideal for your wish business, which is car sales. The mayor and his team agreed. But disappointingly, the mayor did not disclose the ownership of the companies that were being told that the council had created a lease with them. We then say, why don't you go ahead and negotiate, or let those companies negotiate directly with Logara so that they can go and view the pieces of land that are being offered as a swap. After that, we'll then find a way of starting this development, because it's now stopping development. We want to move in line with National Development Strategy 2, in line with Vision 2030. We have no time to be just sitting and talking and sitting and talking. We agreed on that. The next stage, we received, the mayor advised that the companies had gone to court and the council had lost the matter before the court, a default judgment was passed. When we further investigated, we discovered that the companies were owned by senior council employees from the mayor, the deputy mayor. Companies that is standard we're now flashing and say they are the legitimate companies. They are not legitimate companies. When we discovered that and we called the mayor and this team here, I said, I reserve the right as the Minister of Local Government and Public Works to call upon Section 313 and 314 of the Urban Councils Act, which says Minister may reverse, suspend, rescind resolutions or decisions of councils where the minister is of the view that any resolution or decision or any action of a council is not in the interest of the inhabitants of the council and area concerned, or is not in the national or public interest. So we told them we want this development to proceed. They went back, met as full council, and passed the resolution that the swap arrangement must be adhered to. And this is where we were until one of them, I think they were not understand. I don't know what was happening within themselves. One of them went and reported the matter to Zaki, and we are all aware what happened to Zaki. But for some reason, one of your publications, Standard or City Newsday, decided to publish falsehoods that the minister is at the center of land baronship in the country, that the minister is the biggest land baron in the country. I have no business in being a land baron. That's not my mandate. And I am at the center actually of fighting land barons. And these 4 companies minus 1, which are land barons. They did not pay a dime to council. Nothing was paid to council. But we are told they received huge sums of money from an innocent businessman whom they sold that piece of land, whom we said, give us the name of this businessman so that we can negotiate with him, or the investor can negotiate with him so that proper arrangements are done. Our role was just to facilitate in terms of the Section 313 and 314. We did that. And this is the story that is there. And your colleagues or you guys, instead of communicating at least with me, to have the decency of communicating and verifying the issues from this side, you decided to write things that are politically motivated. There's nothing to do with the truth. It's a politically motivated story being engineered by people, my political force. There's ones that are engineering that, and obviously I'm told there is exchange of money for people to write like that. So as we speak, we've taken Standard and the Newsday to court. We've sued them. First, they should have communicated with the ministry. They should have at least come to us and say, somebody has reported. We want to know your side of this story. Can you verify these facts or their falsehoods? They decided not to do that. And that kind of journalism is malicious, it's treacherous, and cannot be allowed to continue happening in this country. We cannot continue allowing people to do that. So this is the story about that piece of land. We are ready to take it to court. Should people decide to do that, we are ready to do that. But we have sued Standard and Newsday for publishing falsehoods and hot air, misinforming the public, trying to create a perception that the minister is the biggest land baron in the land. I have no business in taking land that is not mine. I have enough land of my own. Why should I do that? I will not do that. And the officers here have no business in facilitating such kind of transactions. We don't do that. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing with the local authorities. In the city of Harare, you are aware there is a commission of inquiry that was put in place by His Excellency, and they finished their work. We're just waiting for directive now about city of Harare. They are the same people who are in that commission of inquiry, and I'm not privy to disclose the contents of the commission of inquiry in this meeting, but I'm telling you, it's city of Harare is a rot. It's a rot that needs to be sorted out. I think I've done justice to that question. Then in terms of broadly service delivery, we are in Bulawayo tomorrow. We want to go and finalize with the Bulawayo City Council on the issue of Bulawayo Waste City Council waste management and waste collection, as well as water. We have finalized the water issues in Harare. There is a PPP arrangement now. There is a company, an investor, Okro Water, and their partners from China, Liaison Technologies, who are now working in rehabilitating the water, Harare water system from treatment plant to conveyancing and water metering. And those that obviously, if there is anyone from Warren Park, you know that some houses in Warren Park are receiving tap water now. We intend that by the end of this year, Harare's water issues will be solved. And we have Harare, city of Harare, we have got Chitungwiza, we have got Norton, we have got Rua, and the adjoining developments like the areas around like Simri Park. So that's Harare, and we intend to. We are now speaking with investors who have got interest in the rehabilitation of the sewer system to come and so that we can deal with the sewer systems of Harare. We do the same with the drainage system. We are aware when it rains, our roads are flooded in Harare. The reason why they are flooded is because vendors store or keep their wares in the drains. So when it rains, the drains become blocked. We are now bringing in technology that can blow off all that blockage so that our drains are start functional again. But we need to go through the PPP arrangements. The Bulawayo tomorrow, I talked about the sewer and water, and we want to be going throughout the country. We've got other cities that are doing pretty well, like Mutare. Garwe has got water metering as well. I understand Mureo RDC, I didn't know, that's where I come from, I didn't know that they've got water metering. So some are moving pretty fast. It's just major cities that we need to work on right now.
Any question for the minister?
Relative this issue. Or we are done with this so that we'll go to other things.
Yeah.
You wanted to, we've got a supplementary question.
Yeah, perhaps as a follow-up, we continue to see in the urban areas the development of cluster houses across the board. But in most of these instances, there isn't the sufficient infrastructure that accommodates the bustling settlements that we're seeing, as well as those kind of constructions that we're seeing in these metropolitan areas. Perhaps from a bylaws perspective, what is the infrastructure, the mechanisms that are in place to ensure that the development that is taking place is supported by the the resources that are available to sustain those numbers that we see?
Let me say the development of clusters in our urban areas and the construction of high-rise buildings, flats to be specific, it's a welcome development because it's answering the questions on housing shortages. And they've done extremely well in that regard. What was not done by the local authorities was to amend the bylaws so that anyone who wishes to partake in cluster development, that person must also upgrade the water system. He must also upgrade the sewer system, ensure that the road network is also reconsidered. But local authorities were just rushing to approve the cluster developments without looking at the attendant service delivery system. When we discovered that, we then put in a moratorium on the approval by the local authorities through the Ministry of Change of Land Use and Reservations. Because people apply for change of land use from single residential to cluster, from residential to commercial. You see a lot of commercial buildings mushrooming out there. So we put His Excellency put a moratorium to stop that. And people are now applying for waivers. And people were now avoiding the local authorities and bringing their waiver applications here, which is also not correct. We then advised our chief director responsible for spatial planning, Vamshamba, who is here, that all the applications for waivers must pass through the avenue, which is dangerous in the event of fire outbreaks. So we are dealing with that. We are putting that into order.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Minister. There is a rampant parceling out pieces of land on peri-urban areas everywhere else. Last week, Secretary for Lands, Dr. G, said it is criminal to do that, and also said that chiefs do not have authority to distribute land to people. And land barons, as we speak, are going out to to peri-urban centers like Ngosha or Seke and elsewhere, selling pieces of land having done some deals. But Dr. G said the Minister of Local Government is solely responsible for distributing land, especially rural land. I don't know what the minister is doing regarding illegal parceling out of pieces of land through chiefs and suburbs. And we had any prosecution as a result because it has seen a lot of people being displaced even in the rural areas that are area.
The administration of rural land is done by the Minister of Local Government and Public Works together with the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries and Water. We co-administer that act. The developments that are taking place in the peri-urban areas and even in the rural areas must be put to a stop without any hesitation. The challenge we have is the people that are buying land and they get duped in the process do not want to go and report to the police. They want the government to come and say, Mr. Land Baron, we are taking you to court. We go to court, we lose, because we are not the complainant, but we can facilitate the process. If complainants go and report, and I think we've been on record as government saying to people, don't buy land from people that do not own it. Because one, you will not have title deeds to that piece of land, because you are sold land that is not, we are sold land illegally. So we have told people several times, and every time we've got an opportunity to share with people out there, we tell them desist from participating in these sub deals. But you know, humans as we are, we want to ignore the law, and people deliberately want to misunderstand the policy on the regularization. It doesn't mean that we agree here, we go and invade a piece of land, government will come and regularize. No. We're not going to, government is not doing that. There are specific areas where government is going to ensure that the regulation policy is applied, and applied on a beneficiary pays principle. if you are buying a properly developed stand, you are buying you are buying the land as well. So some people have simplified the understanding that government must come in terms of regularization. Government must come, do the road network, do water reticulation, do sewer reticulation, and move away. Then they can come and build their houses without paying for the land and without paying for the services. We have now a policy on beneficiary pays principle, which we're going to apply throughout the country in those areas, because we can't remove people from there. But people want now to think that they will just go and settle themselves everywhere. That time is over. The law will take its course, and the law will soon catch up with them. So the beneficiary pays principle, which is a new policy born out of the regularization policy, will ensure that whoever is at a piece of land, Harare South, for instance, or Wet Cliff, will go and do proper road network designs, sewer water articulation designs, all done, and people will then have stands with the stand numbers and pay for the land and the services, and you get your title deeds. That's the beneficiary pays principle policy that I'm talking about. But the sub-book deals is something that the Minister of Lands and ourselves have to put hands together and put a stop to it.
Honorable Minister Panashina Bolia with ZBC News. About a week ago, the Mayor of Harare had a press conference where he sort of admitted that the local authority does not have the capacity to deal with the flash flooding that we're seeing within the capital city, saying that they need equipment from central government. To quote his words, they need equipment running in all areas in different directions. Have you been in consultation with the local authority on that front? And where are you if you have been in consultation with them? And secondly, to borrow from what Stephen was saying, there seems to be a tug of war between central government and local authority almost each and every day on a different particular issue, depending on that particular day. What is the extent of your ministry's powers in terms of dealing with local authorities that are out of order? Because when you speak to the mayor, he says that he has limited powers because he's not an executive mayor. And therefore, some of the issues that he fails to deal with and his council fails to deal with are as a result of that lack of executive power, which he says falls on your ministry. To what extent can you deal with the local authorities that go out of order? Thank you.
Thank you very much for those three questions. Let me start with the effect of lack of equipment and what is the central government doing about that to capacitate the local authorities. You are aware that in November last year, we launched a program which we call LATSU, Local Authorities Technical Support Unit, which is housed at our CPU yard here, where we have got yellow machines, tube trucks, and many other pieces of equipment. And we said, local authorities come and hire from us. The only local authority that doesn't come to hire from us is City of Harare. So that deviant behavior or deviant character by the mayor of Harare is very, very unfortunate, because the equipment is very close to him. We've got even the refuse tenders there. We've got tip trucks. We've got graders. We've got loaders. We've got everything under that department. And all the smaller towns are coming to hire those pieces of equipment. The City of Harare, we're closest to where the equipment is based, haven't even attempted to come and have a look at the equipment. So it's not correct that we are not getting support. You are aware that His Excellency procured fire tenders from Belarus. And those fire tenders were distributed to all our 92 local authorities, including the rural local authorities. Some graders were procured, some dozers were procured. So that they are not getting support from here is a lame excuse. But we also, last year, came up with a policy on Mushandra Palm, where we said the local authorities in a specific province can pool resources together and work together. Take Mashonaland East for instance. It has got 9 local authorities. The 9 local authorities can put their resources together. Whoever has got a grader will bring the grader. Who has got a dozer will bring the dozer. Those with tippers and many other pieces of equipment. And they are engineers, because engineers are critical in this. They then choose one local authority, say Goromonzi. They'll then pull all those resources together, bring them to Goromonzi, and start working in Goromonzi, service all the roads or rehabilitate all the roads and other services. Once they are done, they'll go to the next local authority until all of them are done. And this is now something that we are working on, and we are going to see a lot of traction in following that Mshandra Pangwe Nimbe Ilime initiative. So we are supporting the local authorities. Harare is a special case. So even if you listen to what Harare says to you, you risk ending up getting more confused than you were before you talk to them. They are a special case, which means special treatment. That's why there was a commission of inquiry put on Harare. Then that I am not an executive mayor. The executive authorities with the central government, therefore the decisions that I am not able to do. Again, that is, in my view, a very careless statement by the mayor. If there is a local authority which gets the maximum support from central government, the city of Harare. We now have private sector working on service delivery in the city of Harare. We haven't done that in any other local authority. We have got Jopomona on 2 major service deliveries areas, waste collection and waste management. We have got Helcro water on the Harare water. We are now finalizing documentation on the sewer for Harare. I don't know what kind of support the mayor wants, unless he wants us to close our eyes as he takes the council to court for him to be able to be given a default judgment on land that belongs to council which he did not pay for, and then go around and flag this paper. We can't do that. There must be order in every local authority. Any further questions?
Monathan, Chief Director responsible for civil protection.
Start of the site. I'm Mike Mazai, Director, Local Authority.
Comrade Chiko, Chief Director, Traditional Leaders.